Hey, folks, where are the ships? What ships, you might ask? The ships that transported tens of millions of people stolen from Africa for a life sentence of intergenerational enslavement, brutality, oppression, and horror in the Americas. Hi, I'm Ted Sturmer. I teach public history at Johns Hopkins University, and I'm the film and digital media editor of The Public Historian. So let's take a look at some comments on my recent post about the transatlantic slave trade database, a wonderful resource, slavevoyages.org, that includes an exhaustive level of primary source evidence about the slave trade, and more to the point, it reveals so much about the people who are involved with it, both the enslavers, but more to the point, the people who were stolen from Africa. We have this one, and then there's this one, and then there's this one. Now, given the work we have to do fighting the bad guys, those sorts of copy and paste patterns by human bots raises our spidey senses, that we've got to kind of be on top of what's going on in digital media to derail an honest approach to history, just understanding the basic facts of what happened, because there are actors out there who don't want you to know, whose agenda is dependent upon you not understanding honest history and where it comes from, even the most documented form. So we went looking for the ships, and we found them. And they're right there in the harbor of pseudo-history, docked alongside anti-vax conspiracies, flat earth theories, and the idea that aliens are responsible for everything. Right there, alongside it. The question isn't harmless for those of us who care about making sure that we have the tools to be able to identify fact from fiction, to be able to understand the truth that in fact binds us together. It's not a harmless question when you just slide in, what about the ships? This is a calculated tool, a tactical one, used by fatuous history deniers like Dane Calloway to undermine historical truth and rewrite history for clicks and chaos, preferring a free-flowing fantasy land that they call history, and conveniently and quickly twist on a dime to suit their agendas. Here's the reality. The transatlantic slave trade is among the most documented atrocities in human history. This is the crimes of the centuries. We have detailed records by the perpetrators, because there's money involved, and you can always follow the money. We have detailed records of nearly 36,000 voyages. We know the names of the ships, their captains, their owners, their cargoes, human beings, and all of their ports of call. We know where they came from, we know where they went to, we know where they went back to. We can map them all out. What we don't have are ships sitting preserved like museum artifacts, because 19th century wooden ships weren't built to last centuries, folks. Do you know how many ships of the United States Navy that still exist from the same period? 2. The legendary USS Constitution from the early Republic, currently berthed in Charleston, Massachusetts, and the not-so-well-known USS Constellation, near and dear to my heart, berthed in my hometown of Baltimore. 2. So let's actually be clear about this. Calloway isn't asking, where are the ships? His grift is built on questions that sound profound, but crumble even under a passing glance at evidence. Like his pseudo-intellectual bedfellow Graham Hancock, he exploits what seems to be gaps in public understanding, not in the record, but in public understanding, in the public history, to sow doubt, to confuse the conversation, and erase the voices of those who enjoyed one of history's greatest crimes and who are still dealing with the legacy of that. This is not about curiosity. This is not about just starting a conversation. It's about control and keeping you off balance. What deniers like Calloway fear isn't the abuse of evidence, but the overwhelming weight of it. They're afraid of databases like Slave Voyages and organizations like Diving with a Purpose, go check them out, which uncover truths they can't refute. History, as we know it, is absolutely against them. We stack the deck with receipts. But instead, they play the game of just asking questions, hoping that you won't look deeper. Where are the ships? They're in the records. They're in the wreckage found by underwater archaeologists, like the Clotilda in Alabama. They're in the stories of the enslaved people who endured the Middle Passage. That Calloway can't see them isn't because he's not looking. It's because he doesn't care. He doesn't want to look. The truth doesn't get him clicks. So what's worse is that he doesn't want you to look either. So every time you see, where are the ships in the comments, recognize it for what it is. A dog whistle. Well, no. They don't do dog whistles anymore, do they? It's a bullhorn for denying the brutal scope of slavery and its ongoing legacy. That's systemic and it's traumatic. And his whole job and those of his deeply disturbed allies is a deliberate attempt to obscure, to distort, to ignore the truth. We owe it to the millions of people who lived this history not to let pseudo-historians hijack their story for clout. Calloway's work isn't history. It's cynical fiction designed to confuse. It's fan fiction for the bad guys. He doesn't care about the receipts. The bigger question then to ask isn't, where are the ships? But why do you refuse to see them when all of the rest of us do?